Hello, this is Nicky Tamaya for Top Gear Philippines, and we're here with a brand new 2021 Isuzu D-Max, a truck several years, hundreds of prototypes, and millions of kilometers in the making. And after all of that development, Isuzu came up with, well, with this. Now it looks a lot like the old truck, and it still has a 3-liter diesel engine under the hood, just like the old truck. But this thing is all new. It's got bodywork developed in the same wind tunnels that they used to test the bullet trains in Japan. It's got an all-new engine block, new cylinders, new pistons, everything. And it feels pretty good. But can you tell from the inside? Will the drive be any different from the old D-Max? Let's find out. Before we set off though, I'd like to take a minute to talk about the styling of the D-Max. It looks very similar, but there are a couple of key differences, the most noticeable of which are the fender flares. Now, the old D-Max had these big, bulging stamped steel fender flares, which the new car is actually wider and the body is filled in that space. So instead of having just the flares and nothing else, now the body has more expressive lines, deeper stamping in the metal to break up the side profile of the car, and it looks a whole lot nicer, a whole lot classier than the old car. There was nothing wrong though with the trunk of the old car, and I guess Isuzu thought there was nothing wrong with the front end of the old car, so both of those remain relatively the same. But you'll notice that in profile it looks a lot cleaner, and this is what I was talking about with the bullet train reference. They developed the aerodynamics of this truck to make it cut through the air better, and it is a bit quieter on the highway now, I won't lie, and it's a whole lot better in all other ways. Now, let's talk about it inside. So as you immediately notice, this cabin is a whole lot nicer than the old car. Gone is the big round plastic thing in the middle. Gone are all the exposed plastics on the dashboard. Now you have this nice leatherette dash topper, these nice pebbly textures everywhere, this beautiful steering wheel, this lovely touchscreen. Maybe I'm gushing a bit too much, but I'm comparing this to the old D-Max, you know. And these lovely leather seats. This is really nice, really modern. It feels in line with some of the newer or more luxurious trucks in the class, and it's a pretty good job by Isuzu. Let's start it up. Ooh. And now let's go for a ride. Well, first things first, again, nice interior, much nicer than before. Still a lot of hard plastic, but they're hidden under a lot of other stuff, and they're in places where you have to go hunting to find them. They're not up in your faces in the old car. And the back seat's a lot bigger too. Isuzu has managed to eke out more space from the back seat by giving this a longer wheelbase, which makes it more stable, but usually a longer wheelbase means a bigger turning circle, but here not so. Isuzu has managed to tighten up the turning circle by revising the front suspension geometry, so I can actually almost make a full 180 turn on this tiny 1.5 lane road, but you know, it's a pickup. Don't expect miracles. It's a tight turning circle, but it's not super tight. Let me talk about the steering. Isuzu steering used to be very truckish, that they had 4 turns lock to lock. Like a truck, you'd be twirling your arms all day. And this is still a bit long. It feels like 3 3/4 turns, but it's much lighter in effort. It's much more direct. It feels much more like a modern truck. The suspension is also better controlled. It's not as soft as before, not gonna lie, but it feels more even on an even keel on the highway. It's much more confident at high speed, and handling is a whole lot better. as you can hear, Isuzu has a lot of new safety technology in here. That was the warning that was telling me that I might hit something. It's very proactive, it's very nannying. If something comes across your nose while you're driving, or if you're in a turn and something might intersect the angle of your turn, it'll say, hold on, Padre, we're gonna hit something. It's good to have in traffic, but a bit annoying when you're driving on tight country roads, but you know, it's safety. Now you may be able to hear rattling under the hood, the old 4JJ engine, but it's not the 4JJ1. This is a 4JJ3 engine. So it's been massaged, refined, and it's just been developed into something with more power, more tractability, and more range than the old engine. When you're driving around, it still feels a lot like the old 4JJ1. It's a bit lazy, it just wants to waffle along at low speed. But when you give it beans, it has power. In terms of the chassis, the ride feels a little firmer than before, but not unbearably firm. The ride is a bit stiff, but then we're on 18-inch wheels wrapped in big Dunlop Grand Trek tires. I like those tires. They're very good in the wet. And well, they have been in the other times I've driven cars on Dunlop Grand Treks, and I expect these will perform similarly. Off-road, those big 18-inch wheels can feel a bit rough, but it's not jarring. 18 inches wrapped in this kind of rubber feels like the right compromise for a four-wheel drive car. Now there's a little bit of binding when you switch into 4-high, and it's obviously something that you don't want to use on-road, but off-road it gives you pretty good traction. Now in our time with the car, we've seen lows of around 7 to 8 kilometers a liter in traffic. We've seen highs of 16 to 17 at around 80 kph on the highway. We expect a little better from a 4JJ, but this is a very fresh engine. This unit has had less than 500 kilometers on it at the start of this test, and we expect it will get better as time goes on, but it's not far off well-seasoned 4JJs. Overall, the brand new Isuzu D-Max is a sea change from the old truck. Where the old truck was sort of lagging behind the competition, but still in the fight just because of the 4JJ engine, the ultra dependable 4JJ1, this truck has a lot more going for it. It's got the new 4JJ3, it's got a new chassis, it's got the new body, it's got the new interior. Everything feels modern, new, and whether or not it's class leading, we'll have to wait for other competitors coming out this year to find out, but I can safely say this is near the top of the class in every category that really matters to buyers, and even some categories that don't. So, for Top Gear Philippines, this has been Nicky Tamayo, signing out.